점수 잡는 hackers.
Paragraph 6. Ben says he financed his alcohol and drug habits by turning to crime and violence. He's now on probation and didn't want his family name used for fear of getting in more trouble. Again, continue on with Ben's story. He's talking about a testimony of anonymous Ben and how he's facing all these problems on the reservations. Paragraph 7. I did a lot of things to get money to drink. He added, regretfully, these included beating people up as a debt collector for beer stores just outside the reservation and driving girls to those stores where they exchange sex for alcohol, he said. Paragraph 8. Ben, now in his 30s, says he quit alcohol several years ago, but he is overweight and in poor health, surviving on disability payments and seeing no chance of getting a job. Now, paragraphs 5, 6, 7, and 8, he talks about Ben. And again, he's just continuing to talk about his hopelessness and his helplessness, even though he's really trying to improve himself. Paragraph 9. Now there's going to be another shift in tone. So before he was talking about the story of Ben, and now in paragraph 9, Christoph is going to go and talk about another problem, which is unemployment. So in the first way beginning of the article, he talks about poverty, and then now he's going to talk about unemployment. Unemployment on Pine Ridge is estimated at around 70%, and virtually the only jobs are those working for the government or for the Oglala Sioux tribe itself. Now he's talking about the problem of high employment, and he uses statistics by talking about how unemployment is at 70%. Obviously, he wants us to understand that 70% is a really big number. So he really wants to emphasize how high and how severe unemployment is. Paragraph 10. There are, of course, some reservations around the country that have struck it rich with gambling or other ventures, but here in the prairies, those riches are only rumors. So in the first half of paragraph 10, he talks about, yeah, some people think that reservations are really succeeding. They're really successful because of the gambling. But he actually says, with a counter argument. So a counter argument is stating the opposing view and then stating his view. So after but, he's trying to really focus on his view. His view is that these riches are only rumors. So they're not actually reality. So basically the reservations are not as successful as people may think they are. Paragraph 11. Half of the population over 40 on Pine Ridge has diabetes, and tuberculosis runs at 8 times the national rate. Now, this sentence is talking about the poor health on the reservations. He continues on to explain the poor health in his next sentence. As many as 2/3 of adults may be alcoholics. 1/4 of children are born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Now, up to here, he's talking about the poor health. And then he goes on to a second problem. And the life expectancy is somewhere around the high 40s, shorter than the average for sub-Saharan Africa. Now, talking about how life expectancy is around the high 40s, now he's trying to say that their life expectancy is not that high. It's actually very low, which is the second problem, low life expectancy. And then starting from here, now he's going to talk about the poor education. Less than 10% of children graduate from high school, talking about the poor education on the reservations. So he brings up these 3 problems: poor health, low life expectancy, and poor education. And he actually shows how severe these problems are by using statistics. Now he uses specific numbers like 8 times the national rate. He wants to tell you that tuberculosis is really high. 2/3 of adults may be alcoholics. He's trying to show you that 2/3 is a really big number. He talks about 1/4 of children who are born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, talking about 1/4 of children being a really big number. And again, trying to say that the life expectancy at the high 40s, that's really low. The life expectancy is really low. And he talks about how less than 10% graduate from high school. Obviously, 10% is a really small number. So anytime he uses statistics or numbers, you really want to emphasize if the number is big or small and why he uses those numbers to prove his point. Let's look at paragraph 12. One reason businesses don't invest in reservations is that even though unemployment is so high, companies find it difficult to recruit dependable workers, according to Robert Braveheart, who runs the Red Cloud Indian School. The main point here, talking about the difficulty of companies to recruit dependable workers. They can't find any workers that they can depend on, which is why they don't really want to hire anyone on the reservations. And he shows this main point through appeal to authority. Robert Braveheart is authority. He continues on by talking about Robert Braveheart. People here still have to develop good work habits, even getting to work on time, Braveheart said. And people here have constant family crises that cause them to miss work. Paragraph 14. Braveheart, the son of a medicine man, is a success story and is turning out more of them at his school. These young people are going off to college to acquire skills that may help them turn the reservation around in the future. So he brings up, starting from paragraphs 12, 13 and 14, he brings up the story of Braveheart, and he's trying to say that Braveheart is really successful, but the problem is that there aren't a lot of successful people on the reservation. But he tells us that Braveheart is actually making his best effort to turn out more of them at his school, so he's trying to make more successful people at his reservation and at his school. Now, Braveheart can also be a testimony, and it could also be appeal to authority because he's trying to refer to an expert who actually talks about the problems on the reservations and how he's trying to solve them. Let's move on to paragraph 15. How might present and future leaders lift up Indian reservations, such as Pine Ridge, out of poverty? Now, he throws out a rhetorical question, trying to ask the readers or ask the audience, how are we going to turn the reservations around? How are we going to get them out of poverty? A starting point is to understand what holds them back. And then, obviously, with the rhetorical question, he's going to have his answer. His answer is that we need to understand what's actually stopping them, what's actually holding them back from succeeding. And he's going to continue on with his commonsensical argument. So he gives you a problem, and now he's going to say the solution. Now, one of the solutions is to understand what's happening on the reservations. He's going to continue on with his commonsensical argument in paragraph 16. One factor is the alcohol and drug abuse and broken families. That's why I blasted Anheuser-Busch in my last column for helping siphon alcohol into the reservation against tribal rules. If you're not sure what Anheuser-Busch is, he explains it. It's a very large beer production company. And this is actually a passage glossary. So if there are words that you're not sure of, they're actually going to explain it for you. And you can look for the one here, and you can look for the one at the end of the passage, and it's going to give you a definition. Let's actually note what the main point is in paragraph 16. The author, Nicholas Kristof, cites alcohol and drug abuse as evils that have contributed to holding back the progress of Native communities and people on the reservations. And he actually blamed a major alcohol producer for infiltrating or siphoning into the reservation and distributing their products.